You want to switch us? You don't like it when I'm on this side.
Oh, that's right. So I guess I have to take myself out first.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. It is Monday night. It is Monday night. It is time for revolutionary change. I'm Jen Perelman.
I'm Peter Hager. Good to see you guys. We're already over 100.
It's exciting.
It's exciting.
Oh, look who's here.
Well, it wouldn't be a party without the party pooper.
We have a lot to talk about. And I'm excited because two of my favorite people are coming. And I, unfortunately, was not here the last time you had them on, which really kind of hurt. Especially the Colonel. I am sweet on him.
That's right. You were actually overseas at the time, but I felt it was very important. Not that we do not have our, what I would consider to be resident authorities in the military, but I do believe that Colonel Wilkerson and Sergeant Fritz are two of the more distinguished and outstanding individuals that we have had grace our channel. They've always been great in terms of soundbite, but just really great information overall in terms of the key issues that we talk about on a regular basis. So right now, we have to continue to live in a world where, and I just want to make kind of like a prelude to my opening statement pertaining to what's going on here. I like More Perfect Union. I think they do really good work. I understand that they have to raise money in order to facilitate these very important stories where they go on site and they connect with people. But guys, I want to be as crystal clear about this as I can. Brian Tyler Cohen was exposed as the grifting SOB that everybody knew that he was, just like David Pakman. He's also a Zionist on top of everything else. If you're going to pay him to do ads for you on YouTube that I am seeing now to promote More Perfect Union, I'm going to have to think twice about whether I'm going to play your clips on our channel. Because
Wait, say what happened. I'm missing what happened.
More Perfect Union has basically hired Brian Tyler Cohen to promote their channel.
Oh, no. No.
So as much as I appreciate your work, and I can understand the fact that you have Democratic Party adjacency, I understand those things. It's part of doing business, but you don't have to pay a grifting SOB to promote your channel. There is nothing written in any contract that says that that's how you have to do it. And not only are you doing it, but you're doing it on YouTube. So you're having people potentially watching our channel that now have to see ads for More Perfect Union with Brian Tyler Cohen. I'm sorry, but that's not cool.
Well, I mean, it depends. If what he does is get people over to More Perfect Union and they maintain their integrity and their course as to what they're doing, then one would argue, okay, then that's a lot of people that are more lib that are now going to be seeing some decent worker-related content. So that's good. But you have to question if any of their content or any of their mission gets sort of hijacked once you're sort of in bed with the libs.
Yeah. I don't see why,
because then, I don't know.
Now, we've been seeing a lot of interesting messaging that's been going on lately, as I'm sure a lot of you have noticed, that the Democratic establishment, as tone deaf as a political party can possibly be, they have an idea about how they're going to sell Newsom, Whitmer, Shapiro, even Pritzker to the country. So nothing happens by accident in the establishment. Nothing. Everything is, especially with the Democrats, it's always coordinated, 100%. So they have gone out of their way over the past few days to start, and we're talking about the shitlib of shitlib journalists. There is this idea that if there's anybody that deserves promotion in terms of how the Democrats win again, there is a person that they should be pushing. Person that they think they should be pushing right now.
Wait, is this the slow burn?
Sorry, I'll go. I didn't realize it did that. Give me 1 sec.
Oh, I think that's actually more telling. In the meantime, let's take that out. And in the meantime,
Okay. It's time for a slow burn.
yeah, I mean, I think that's the slow burn, you know, I mean, that's what's happening. So, yeah. So, it's so weird to see him like so full-faced now, like so
Yeah.
chubby, you know?
Well, he was
Oh, yeah. I know.
big time.
He
All right,
looks
so-
to me, he looks so sickly now.
Colin, should I
Joe-
put it back in or not? Yes, no, maybe.
No. I said that file is bad. I got to read.
Oh, okay. So he's got a bad file. Okay. So yeah, no, we're not saving Colin.
Mm.
I know that there was definitely there was a commentary that I saw that I thought was very interesting regarding this. That's it. That's what it was. Okay. So I think that this is probably the best example of what a shitlib has to say. And Colin, if you can just grab this tweet that I'm texting to you right now, I think this kind of says it all in a lot of ways. This just speaks to the real problem here regarding what they're going to do. Because like I said, the only reason they would be promoting Bill Clinton is because they're trying to sell neoliberalism still. They're still trying to sell it. And this guy, Patrick Ruffini, I don't know who he is. He's just another, again, shitlib journalist who is in New York or DC. And he says the debate about the future of the Democratic Party begins and ends with this photo. All they've got to do is turn the clock back 30 years and do exactly what he did. So let's talk about what he did.
Oh, they've run out of ideas.
Talk about it. Let's make sure that we do this the right way.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is the person that they are all circling the wagons around. Well, they're not actually circling the wagons around him specifically.
They're using him.
They're using him to sell their neoliberalism.
It's nostalgia. What they're selling is nostalgia for the people that want to go back to, in their mind, good times. They want to go back to those good times. The 90s. It was just so much fun. Just everybody living well beyond their means, building up tons of credit card debt, ending up in a complete financial economic shitstorm, but they were living large. So he represents this sort of like nostalgia for the libs that they would still argue only got ruined because of Bush.
Patrick Ruffini. Oh, this really goes to show you who this guy's all about. Patrick Ruffini is a Republican Party pollster and political strategist. He founded Engage LLC, a DC-based political media firm, and now runs the political research and intelligence firm Echelon Insights. So he's also intelligence. So yeah, that definitely would track properly that this is who this guy's pushing. And yet, all the while, it is pretty obvious that this is a person like a very select few of others that really benefited in a substantial way from having him as president. And that, in many respects, I think is the big issue here. They're all caught up in this whole notion that, yeah, he was great for the country. He balanced the budget, right? Is that what he did? Okay. So they've got not only did Democrats defend Clinton's private affairs as no one's business, this position was wildly popular among voters who rejected the prudishness of the Christian right. Yes, and I think most people probably still feel the same way. That hasn't changed. But again, what exactly are we talking about here when we're talking about policy?
There's a point to it, Colinello. Wait for the point. We're coming full circle with this, okay? Hold on to your
This is a person who claims to be a commie too, which is kind of funny.
They're using Bill Clinton for a very specific purpose, to sell a narrative and to sell a concept. And that's the concept they're going to be pushing for 28. So that's what we're talking about. But this is where it starts. Oh, good
Did
God.
somebody say something about selling a concept for a few bucks? Hey, I'm here and ready to sell.
Of course you are.
Jen, it's great to see you. It's been a little while. How you doing these days?
I'm better with you not next to me.
Well, I wish I could tell you where I was, but I've been a certain type of witness protection for a while. But I just want to go through some of the line items. You know, we've got a few of these here. I'm not doing as well as I was in the olden days, but I still got my ways.
Are you going to give us your proud achievements as president?
I'm very proud of my achievements. I got to tell you, I know I hurt a lot of people along the way, but if you haven't noticed, I've got 9 figures in the bank, and that's a lot of money. I know it's a lot of blood money, but hey, it's still mine. You can't take it away from me. So I want to remind you all, people, of exactly what I accomplished as president with a Democratic supermajority for the first 2 years that I was in office. And of course, the first one off the bat, which was probably the most important one that I can never say enough good things about, because, hey, we're about free trade, aren't we, baby?
Oh, yes.
I passed NAFTA in 1993 as part of my first 100 days. I know that healthcare is what you wanted, but free trade for the super rich is exactly what you got. So I'm happy with that one. Who's to say that if we elect another shitlib like me, that we might be able to finally get the TPP passed? I think you'd all appreciate that one. And so after that, we also did welfare reform. You remember that one?
I do.
That's right. That's our Democrats. We did that. How do you think we balanced the budget in the first couple of years? That was the magic of trying to take things away from the poor and just giving them over to the rich. That's how we were able to justify reducing the top marginal tax rate to 39.6%. I really can't say enough about how good the press was to us. And there's a reason why the press was very good to us.
Does that bring you to your next crowning achievement?
Yeah. We passed the Telecom Act. And you know what that did? In 1995, we had over 50 media companies in the United States. And by the end of my presidency, we were down to 6. Ain't that amazing? Ain't that something special?
Oh,
That's
it's special.
A lot of people rich, a lot of people powerful. And if I must say, there is another very important policy that us super Democrats, led by Joe Biden, was able to accomplish in my first 2 years in office. There was this little thing called the crime bill. You know, we could have actually improved the cities by improving education and more economic opportunity like trade schools and ending the drug war. You know, there's lots of things that we could have done. But instead, what we did was 3 strikes, you're out and you go to prison. And, well, we know what happened with places like Geo Group, the for-profit prison industry. They got really rich thanks to me. And I'm sure they still appreciate it to this day. But if you think I did enough on the domestic side, I ain't done yet. You know, I'm the one who's responsible for normal trade relations with China. I did that. That's me. I did normal trade relations with China, which means that all of you working stiffs in the upper Midwest and the heartland and the Great Plains who was dependent upon FDR and JFK and Eisenhower-like policies for the better part of the 20th century, and all that got taken away when I got there, because we're not about labor. We're about management and investing, and we're not about workers. We haven't been for a long time, and I can assure you, we never will be again.
No.
So just remember, if you're ever questioning whether or not the Democratic Party hates workers, yes, we do. Very much so. But you're still suckers who vote for us anyway. So that's why we love Trump. He just makes it a lot easier for us to sell our bullshit to the country. And so normal trade relations with China, you would think, would have been the death knell for our future as a party. But I've got to tell you, I still did worse than that, Jen. Can you?
I know. I know what you're going to say.
I know you think what I'm going to say is that I had sexual relations with an intern in my office when I shouldn't have. And while that's really terrible, and I know people in the moral majority would never approve of such illicit behavior, I got to tell you, I actually did something that is actually as bad as any domestic policy in the history of the United States? Would you care to guess what that one is?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're going to be proud of repealing Glass-Steagall.
Yeah, I got to tell you,
Uh-huh.
that very popular policy that FDR
Yeah.
passed during his first or second term, whatever the hell it was before I was even alive, I decided that there should be no distinction between commercial banks and investment banks. And if you want to know why you can't afford a house today, if you want to know why the dollar's not worth dick, if you want to know why this country is going straight to hell, if there is one policy I could pin it on, it is the repeal of Glass-Steagall. And I did that one as well. But that's also why the banks paid me a hell of a lot of money. And that's why I'm a very rich man today.
All right, let's talk about why this is relevant now.
Well, the reason why it's relevant now is because they're still trying to fix that party that is in my and Hillary's image, even though it's more my image because I actually won something and she didn't win shit.
There's that.
That's one side of it. Now, Hillary would beat me up if she heard me say that out loud. This isn't seen by too many people now, is it? No, I didn't think so.
Yeah, we're growing.
But the point is, I know that there are some really solid neo-lib Zionist Democrats out there that are going to save this party from any type of a working class Palestinian Arab takeover, and we just can't have that, Jen. You know we can't. It's unacceptable behavior.
So, all right, are we going to get to the point of all this, though?
We need to make sure that either Gavin Newsom, Josh Shapiro, maybe Gretchen Whitmer, if I don't get a hold of her first, or maybe Mr. Pritzker, a few others mixed in, they're the ones who think they're going to be the next president of the United States. And the best way to sell that is to sell me. And I'm a great guy to sell. So I hope you all enjoyed my revision of history, the honest revision of history, not the ones that the others are going to sell you on. Remember, there's only one bill, and there only will be one bill. But as long as I'm alive, the Democratic Party will be the Clintons forever. Bye.
So the reason why this is important, and, I think that he, as is Obama, is somebody that the Dems will always drag out for appearances when they feel like they need to rally people up. But the problem is it's really not working anymore. And as we saw when Obama came out for Kamala, it fell flat almost every single time.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see more of that. But the reason that they're propping up Bill and they're going to bring him out, they're trying to remind people of how better things were. Things were better. Things were calmer. You weren't as worried. We weren't on the brink of World War III. Things were better with Bill. We need to bring back this kind of liberal policy. And they're going to try to then transfer that over to the likes of Gavin Newsom and whoever else they're going to put up.
Yeah.
And again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. They're done. It won't work. They will not win another national seat. They're done. But their campaigning is clearly now what they're doing. They're showing you their strategy. They're not coming out and offering any sort of economic relief. They're not coming out and offering an end to endless wars. They're not coming out and offering people anything that we want. I don't see them offering health care. I don't see them doing jack shit. So by doing this, they're just trying to go on your feelings, because that's all Democrats do. It's about your feelings. They need you to feel comfortable so that you could go back to brunch. And they think that people like that will bring you back into that fold. We've got this. We're good. Look, Bill's still here and things were great. So you need to just come back this way. And they're going to try to paint someone like Gavin Newsom as a Bill Clinton. And maybe he is. I don't know. But we have now seen that that doesn't work. That's what led us to what we are now. Peter and I were talking earlier, and I believe, he believes, we both believe that Bill Clinton, hands down, has been the worst president in our lifetime as far as domestic policies go and the economy in this country.
And it's not close.
Yeah, the worst. And then we would give W overall worst and worst for foreign policy. But in terms of what Bill Clinton's neoliberal policies did, they are the exact reason why we were so vulnerable to fascism. Neoliberalism leads to fascism. That's what it does. That's how it works. And there's lots of books you can read on this. And so he is the main reason that we were set, well, not him personally, the whole group of them, that we were set on this trajectory to where we are now. So when they come out with these people and try to be like, oh, look at the good old days, you know, we're not going to allow that. We're not going to allow that revisionist history.
No way. And speaking of revisionist history and the way that they're going to try to sell what's been going on in the Middle East and the way that we have been capitulating to this very problem for as long as we have, if there is any doubt that Greta Thunberg, Greg Stoker, anybody else that has been a part of this flotilla was not tortured psychologically, emotionally, and physically for several days, then you're just as big a dupe as anybody. They're only going to say so much. One of the reasons why they will only say so much is because they can't show weakness. They have to show defiance and confidence, because if they don't, then there are people who will be deterred from actually going on the next round of flotillas, which hopefully will be several hundred.
They're already sailing. There's boats already sailing. Now there's just like continuously boats, but not only are they resilient, they're not deterred in the least. They're not deterred in the least.
Nope. So here is what Greta had to say about her experience.
Let me be very clear. There is a genocide going on in front of our very eyes. A live-streamed genocide on all of our phones. No one has the privilege to say we are not aware of what is happening. No one in the future will be able to say we did not know. Under international law, states have a legal obligation to act to prevent and to stop a genocide from happening. That means ending complicity, applying real pressure, and ending arms transfers. We are not seeing that. We are not even seeing the bare minimum from our governments.
We're not seeing anything. And as we've said, the only logical explanation that makes any sense at this point is that the Samson option is something that Milikowski has made very clear that if you back Israel all the way into a corner, they'll do it. Like the threat of a nuclear attack is a very real thing.
Yes. Yes.
And so I would tell Greta, complaining to the governments are not going to do shit. The only way this changes is if the people collectively say, to hell with this shit. And what we're noticing, especially as our channel has grown, and we have very much what you would consider a rainbow coalition of all different colors of the political spectrum, pretty much everybody here is unified around the issue of Israel-Palestine, which to me is the issue of our time in so many ways. So it's only a matter of time before the dam breaks. That's what I see.
Yeah. I mean, this is not going to stop. It's not going to stop. There's going to be more and more boats. And if people don't understand that, then look at the exponential growth from the first couple of missions where you had individual boats to what just happened. And every single time that the Zio state has to deal with these missions, it's taking resources that are already spread thin. That's what it's doing. So people who say it's a PR stunt, fuck you. Fuck you. These are revolutionaries that are sick and tired of watching a Holocaust and watching our governments do nothing about it. So these are people at their wits' end that are doing whatever they can think of to do to help these people that are being Holocausted. So anybody who has the privilege of sitting there and saying it's just for PR, seriously, go fuck yourself.
What Jen said.
Our international systems are betraying Palestinians. They are not even able to prevent the worst war crimes from happening. And I will never, siege as a continuation of decades and decades of suffocating oppression, apartheid, and occupation. What we aim to do with the global Flotilla was to step up when our governments failed to do their legal obligation. Our governments are talking about ensuring human rights and the importance of getting humanitarian aid into Gaza, while failing to do their part and while failing to even the bare minimum ensuring safety for this mission.
I am not sure a single flotilla will make it to the beachhead at this point.
Maybe not.
I was suspicious that they wouldn't. But as a few people have pointed out, you've pointed out, if you even want to call it a silver lining, as a result of so many ships heading towards Gaza, the Israeli Navy actually had to take attention away from other matters to deal with these ships. And as a result, Palestinians were able to fish for the first time in over 2 years.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can imagine the joy that they felt being able to do that.
And I have been saying this from the very beginning about what we're able to do, and it doesn't seem like we're doing much. It doesn't seem like we can do anything, and I know people feel really helpless about it. But what I will tell you, and I know this for a fact from the Palestinian people themselves, and from people who have spent time in Gaza in the past 2 years, that what we're doing matters to them. What we're doing matters to the Palestinians. It makes them know that people care and that we care about what happens to them, and they're not alone in the world, and that we will continuously be harping on this and will continuously avenge this for eternity. And our support of them gives them hope. And while that seems like a small, insignificant thing, I have been assured from people who know that it is not a small thing. So when people say, what can we do? We're doing it. That's what you're doing. You're doing it. So yeah, it's important. And honestly, do not shit talk Greta in my chat. Nobody.
Yeah, I don't even understand that. That's
Just don't.
so.
I just don't.
This mission should not have to exist. The global Samud Flotilla was the biggest ever attempt to break Israel's illegal and inhumane siege by sea. And it is a story of global, international solidarity, of people stepping up when our governments fail to do so, of people saying that my leaders, so-called leaders who are supposed to represent me, who continue to fuel a genocide, death and destruction, they do not represent me. And this is a last resort. That this mission has to exist, it's a shame. It is a shame. And I could talk for a very, very long time about our mistreatment and abuses in our imprisonment, trust me, but that is not the story.
Does she seem deterred to you? Does she seem like you've scared her off and she's now going to go cry in a corner somewhere? Because I'm not getting that vibe.
No, not at all. And again, this is a person who, despite what you may think of her, she's actually a pretty formidable fighter. Now, if you want to say, fellow chat, that you didn't like the shit libs that were propping her up a handful of years ago, that's fine. But notice something here. They're not propping her up now, are they? In fact, they've pretended that she doesn't even exist anymore.
Exactly.
That's what a real revolutionary looks like. And yes, let me assure you that if your issue with her is that she preaches global climate change is a serious problem, here's all I can tell you about whether or not you believe in climate change. Do you think it's possible that the water you drink is contaminated? If the answer is yes, then that's a form of climate change because your water climate is being polluted.
Climate crisis.
Climate crisis. Do you think there are problems with the air you breathe? You know, like in places like East Palestine, Ohio, and Flint, Michigan, and Kalamazoo, and East Chicago, Indiana. Do you have a problem with that? I would. That's a form of a climate crisis. Now, you could look at it however which way you want. And again, how much of an impact do we as humans have overall? I can't say. You know what I can say? That we have, whether it's DuPont, it could be anybody, has destroyed our environment for the purpose of profit. And if that means they have to kill people, all you have to do is look at the French CEO of Nestle, who says that water is not a right, it is a privilege. And I don't have to say anything else. That's all you need to know. So this is why the environment is a big issue, and Greta was at the forefront of it, but she wasn't really getting in the way of capital just yet when she started. Now she's getting in the way of it, and now they can't fucking stand her. And now they're reaping what they sow because they thought that they were dealing with a snot-nosed kid who was actually a privileged little child. In reality, she was always a revolutionary.
Always.
And now that she's got her sea legs, she's willing to take it to the next level. Credit to her. She's a fighter. And you better fucking believe that they tortured the shit out of her. And she's like, good, bring it. I'm alive.
I think the other thing I see in her is it's like she's young Medea. This is like where these people, they come from it. They're in it all the time. She's a revolutionary. She's willing to put her body on the line. She's what, 22 years old?
Yeah, 23.
I was nowhere in the vicinity of revolutionary at 22 years old. The fact that, and let's also acknowledge the fact that she's Swedish, speaks perfect English, probably speaks other languages, don't know. She's clearly exceptionally bright, and she's fierce.
So let's say for a minute that you think she's a creepy little weirdo. Okay, let me give you that. Let's assume that you think that she's that. Do you support what she's doing right now? Or are you on the side of Israel? You don't have to like everybody that is fighting for the cause that matters the most right now. If you don't like her, that's fine. You don't have to like her. Do you like what she's doing is the question. And I do.
How can you think she's adorable with her little frog hat that she wears? And she just like, she is the most beautiful combination of like of a child's soul in an old soul fighter's position. Like she's like I don't know how you could think that. Like that's so, I don't get it.
Like I said, if you don't like her, that's fine. As long as you're supporting the cause for humanity, not everybody's going to like each other. That's part of life. That's how it goes.
And by the way, the people that aren't liking her, what the fuck are you standing up and doing?
They're not doing that. That much I can be assured.
You put your body on the line?
That Israel, while continuing to worsen and escalate their genocide and mass destruction with genocidal intent, attempting to erase an entire population, an entire nation in front of our very eyes, they once again violated international law by preventing humanitarian aid from getting into Gaza while people are being starved. And we want to also emphasize that we do not only need humanitarian aid to enter Gaza, we need an end to the siege, we need an end to the occupation and the oppression. This action was challenging our extremely violent business as usual that is preventing these war crimes from happening.
And she just said it. That's it. If you get it, it doesn't matter how many have to die, how many have to suffer. If it's in the name of capital, they will do it.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah, they were fine with her when she was just talking her little Green New Deal shit. Because they're all with that. That's fine. Because they think that they're going to make it so, and we've talked about this before.
Greenwashing.
Yeah, it's greenwashing, and they're just going to create green capital. And so they're fine with that. They don't really care. They don't really give a shit about climate crisis. They're just looking for new ways to make money. But yeah, now she's really being like, being a pain in their butt. I think she's amazing. I think she is badass. And mad respect for this kid.
And that is what this story is about. We cannot take our eyes away from Gaza, from all the places of the world that are suffering, living on the forefront of this business as usual systems. Congo, Sudan, Afghanistan, Gaza, and many, many more. What we are doing is the bare minimum. This genocide and other genocides are being enabled and fueled by our own governments, our institutions, our media and companies. It is our responsibility to end that complicity. What we are doing is not in any way, no one has to come to the rescue of Palestinian people. What we are doing is hearing and acting upon their calls for people all over the world to take action and end our complicity, to use our privileges, our platforms to take a stance against this that is in every way unjustifiable.
I love her. And the thing about her is she really takes every single opportunity where she could, and a lot of people do in this work that we do, like in activism, in content creation, you see often how people will then make it about themselves. They
Yes.
center themselves. It's about themselves. She didn't even want to talk about what happened to her.
No.
She is 100% about the mission all the time. It's
you like
like, yeah.
Would you like to share with the audience what they put her through over the past few days?
Well, from what we know for sure, that a couple of the, or I think it was like 2 or 3 of the Turkish flotilla members were released, I think earlier on, and they had reported that the IOF was forcing Greta. First of all, they were dragging her by her hair, and they were forcing her to crawl on her knees and kiss the Israel flag. Now, that's the things we know that they did. So I assure you there's more. I am sure over time we might get bits and pieces between all of the returning hostages, like what really went down. But it's like they had to walk a fine line with her. They're only going to hurt her as much as to send a message. They can't really do anything to her.
No, because again, it's an international crisis waiting to happen if she ends up dead, which again, they listen, you see all the Zios out there saying, man, I hope they would kill her. I hope they would kill her.
Yeah, because she's fighting for starving babies. I could see why that threatens the psychotic Zios.
Oh, it threatens their sensibilities. That's what it ends up doing.
Yeah, they say she was lying, that they weren't carrying aid. All of that is debunked. All of that is debunked. I don't care what any of them said. The flotilla has the receipts. The Samud flotilla, they have the receipts. We know what they were carrying on all of their ships. And we are not going to be like distracted by the Hasbara.
No gaslighting. And if you think it's bad in the international waters when it comes to the state of Israel, remember, we, the United States of Israel, is unfortunately at the forefront of the continued disintegration of our great country, and it will continue. Now, I don't normally, or if ever, actually, I can't remember the last time I ever played a clip from MSDNC. But to their credit, this was a soybean farmer who is unfortunately caught in the crosshairs now of what I think is this triangulation plan as Israel continues to lose its footing in the world. It is obvious that this is, Nazi relocation strategy 2.0, where they are looking for places to go. And one of those places is Argentina. The grand bargain, as I would think most of us would believe, is what actually happened when President Milei, President or Prime Minister Milikowski, and the Donald met in New York a little over a week ago. Well, there's a reason why Argentina is getting a $20 billion plus bailout. Here's the first layer of the story from the soybean farm.
Well, like we talked earlier, we went from 12 billion to 0. And then, as a farmer, we get up one morning and you give Argentina, which is our second biggest competition in the world. They're the largest exporters of soybean meal in the world. So I get up one morning, I turn the news on, and you give $20 billion of taxpayer money to my competition. And then the Chinese buy, I think the figure is 30 or 40 containers ships, which is about 65,000 metric tons per ship, which is like 2.2 million bushels. So they buy 12 or 14 billion dollars worth of soybeans from the Argentinians after the tax holiday. And here's the caveat to it. They give $2.30 over the November board, while I'm getting 50 cents under the November board.
You see how the average worker in this country gets screwed, and you can thank normal trade relations with China and NAFTA for this very reason. This has been going on for decades, undercutting our farmers in this country. You know why no one fucking does farming anymore? You know why it's not grass-fed beef, it's soy beef? Why do you think that is? Because of shit like this. That's what this is. We have allowed this to happen because you guys get caught up in stupid things like, oh, this person used that bathroom, or this person said the N-word or the F-word or who the hell knows what. Just remember, it's always done as a distraction. Always. This is what really matters. You want to know why you can't afford shit? This is an example. Argentina gets a $20 billion bailout because Milei basically gutted his entire country with a chainsaw, literally and figuratively, and it failed. Now he has to come and get a bailout from us. Gives them the bailout. And then they proceed to now sell the soybean product through Argentina, and now it's going to China. And China's getting it for pennies on the dollar. So we're getting double fucked at the same time. Well, that's apparently what a lot of people believe, but you know, that's the way it goes. You know what, dude? Fuck you. That's all I got to say.
Fuck the farmers. We're so screwed because of so many reasons.
Why you don't like him? Because he's a Republican? Is that the reason?
Because he might have voted for Trump. Do you know that that's like? So do you know
What
that
the fuck is that shit?
When you say something like "fuck the farmers," basically what you're saying is "fuck all of us."
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. You're saying "fuck all of us." We don't exist without people like this guy. Because you could sit in your office on your computer in your little blue city and do whatever it is you're doing. Go try to get something to eat without these people.
That's messed up, dude. You don't have to like his politics, but at least he makes sure that our food is actually on the domestic side. It's actually produced here where it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
That's
the people that are making this a red-blue thing, you're the problem.
Yeah.
You're the problem. This is a class war. This is a class war. And if we don't protect our farmers, which, by the way, we've already screwed farmers so many different ways for the past 40 years that we don't grow anything that we all really need. We're completely dependent on other countries in this country for food. Completely dependent. So when the rest of the world gets about done with us, if these types of people that you don't like aren't the people that are going to be starting to build up and have farming again, how are you going to eat? You living on a homestead, dude? You milking cows?
And not only that, but you're also dealing with people that are actually critical of these guys because they supported Trump. And they're like, well, look at what Trump's doing now. Look at what Biden and Harris did to them during COVID, where the truckers did not want to ship where they wanted to ship the goods, but they didn't want to take the jab. And you thought it was a good thing to force them to do it. Otherwise, to hell with everybody else. Whatever happened to freedom of decision making? If you want to take the injection, you take it. And if you don't take it. Why is it? There has to be common sense, and we lack it.
Yeah, and it is. It's farmers and truckers. It's farmers and truckers that a lot of the libs are who they would refer to as the deplorables. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's see who survives when our country gets cut off from the rest of the world. Because I know it's not going to be the blue people. They're going to wither away and die in cities without power and not know what to do with themselves. So you keep talking down about the people that create your food and truck your food to where you get your food. See how that works.
It's not going to work well. Now, I am all about sustainable communities. community gardens and farms and things like that. That requires work and maintenance. You can't just magically snap your fingers. We've been through that, and we were actually very successful with one until a Zionazi decided to rip it out from under us. And that's not an exaggeration. That's exactly what happened. So again, we have to put our differences aside. It is essential. You may not vote like this man votes, but you probably eat his food.
Oh, you definitely eat his food. And as somebody that actually spent more years waiting tables than practicing law, let me tell you something. And everybody who's ever worked in the restaurant business knows this to be true. Don't fuck with the people in charge of your food. Don't do it.
If you haven't seen
don't
the
fuck with the
Waiting,
people that handle your food. It's worse to fuck with the people that are growing your food.
no, I agree. Again, I disagree with you, Sacrament. I disagree with a lot of you guys. You're always welcome here, but seriously, do not shit on farmers. For the love of God, we are in deep shit to begin with. Let's all have some common sense here. And I'm going to get to in a minute exactly why this is a big problem.
So that makes the Argentinian soybeans about $12.42 a bushel. I think that's the real figure they gave. So all my premium went.
Scott, I just lost you there at the end. You said your premiums go?
They all went to Argentina.
Well, that makes sense because that's where all the Zios are going to escape to, or at least where all of their money is going to go get washed.
These farmers are now having to compete with a country that is getting per bushel a price reduction of $12.42 compared to us. So they get to basically have rock bottom prices. And the only way we can compete with them is if we price it $12.40 above what they're charging. How does that make sense? It doesn't make sense. And it's the same problem with the tariffs. You cannot solve this by adhering to the will of the billionaire capitalist class. And the reason I know that this to be true is for this reason. Colin, I need the article, please. Hedge fund billionaire pressed Treasury Secretary for Argentina bailout. Argentine media reports Rob Citrone, whose hedge fund bet big on Argentina, reportedly asked his friend for a rescue package. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent delivered. There he is. On September 24th, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced a $20 billion package to rescue the Argentinian economy. It was a dramatic move to bail out a country that has little economic impact on the U.S. Argentine President Javier Milei is scheduled to meet with President Trump in the White House later this month, which he did. On Monday, Popular Information revealed that the taxpayer-funded bailout had massive economic benefits for hedge fund billionaire Rob Citrone, a personal friend and former colleague of Bessent. Citrone's fund, Discovery Capital, had bet heavily on Argentina, purchasing Argentine debt and equity in numerous companies closely tied to the country's overall economy. Citrone's investments reflected his belief that Milei's right-wing economic program, shocker, which emphasizes deregulation and sharply reduced government spending, would revitalize the Argentine economy. That theory began to unravel as growth slowed, unemployment spiked, and Milei's popularity tanked. This spring, Citrone reportedly urged Bessent to help Milei secure a separate $20 billion package from the IMF. The IMF funds began to arrive in April, but proved insufficient to turn the Argentine economy around. Concerns turned into panic after Milei's party was routed in the Buenos Aires provincial election in early September, fueling fears that Milei would soon lose control of the economic agenda. Investors began dumping the peso and liquidating other Argentine assets, which spelled major trouble for Citrone's hedge fund. Major Argentine media outlets are now reporting that Citron asked Bissett for a U.S. rescue package. Ariel Maciel, political economy editor of Perfil, a large Argentine media outlet, wrote that after the Buenos Aires elections, Citron returned to his friend and former colleague to request a second bailout, this time from the very coffers of Bissett manages, the U.S. Treasury. You see how this works, ladies and gentlemen? Maciel elaborated on his report during an appearance on Net TV as Argentine broadcaster. Citron is really the one who intervenes. He basically tells Bissett, "Hey, we need to help in Argentina." Popular Info contacted Discovery Capital and asked if the reports that Citron asked Bissett to bail out Argentina were accurate. Discovery Capital declined to comment.
And yeah, Argentina is sort of what they're figuring is their plan B. And there's no reason not to think that, right? It worked for the Nazis. Zionists are the new Nazis. They're Nazi adjacent. They're the current incarnation of Nazis. So it makes sense that they would also be interested in Argentina. And Argentina, for people who don't know, in South America, is a fairly white supremacist place. The Argentinian people are white, and they definitely hold themselves up as a superior people to the rest of the people in South America.
Correct.
And I've known that my whole life. As somebody growing up in South Florida, we've had, always had people here from all different South American countries. So you learn a thing or two.
Jen?
And the Argentinians fall right in line with white supremacy.
Can Bissett be prosecuted for this post-Trump? Well, I mean, even if he could, it's not like they would, but maybe. We don't have a just government. That's the thing, guys.
No.
I wish I could say that we did. I wish I could say that we had fighters, but we don't have that. What we have is a country that's falling apart, and it would only help us all if we stop pretending that this was happening and we all collectively work together on multiple fronts to solve these problems. That's how it changes.
Okay,
Well,
but here's the thing. And David Hunter, just so you know, none of them will prosecute anybody. Not really, because they're all guilty of the same shit. So for the same reason that Obama didn't go after the W administration is the same reason why Trump isn't going to go after Biden. Because that would just set the precedent that each now incoming administration prosecutes the one before.
correct.
So they're not going there. And at the end of the day, they're all friends. They all
Except for
own
Trump.
shares in the same companies. They all profit from the same wars. That's the thing. So they're not going to go after each other for the shit that they're all doing.
No. But if you are enjoying this conversation so far, and we hope you are, please make sure you go over to patreon.com/revolutionary change for as little as $5 a month. You can become a supporter of our small but mighty and growing channel. Let us check the current number. I believe we are currently, let's see where we are. Jen, we have just passed 72,000 subscribers, 72,018 to be exact. So for those of you who
How
are here,
come mine says 71955?
hasn't updated yet.
Okay.
I am all the way in the back.
Clearly. Okay.
Clearly. And so for those of you who are here, again, any support you can provide is tremendously appreciated. Jimmy O'Toole, thank you very, very much for becoming a YouTube member. That looks like a mugshot. Maybe Jimmy O'Toole's a play on words from a famous.
I think that's not him, but I do love me. You know, I love me an Irishman. You know,
The Irish love you too, Jen. That's for sure. Noah Linden, always a pleasure. Thank you for the $5. I showed my mother the clip with the bloodthirsty rabbi today. She became very angry at me. How do I get through to her? She can't handle the truth. That's
you
all
might not be able to. There's a range of people, like it's a spectrum of people, and there are people that are too far gone. They're too far gone. They're going to die believing that they were right about the Zionist state. That's just the way it is.
Maybe show them the clip from earlier today about how they called the cops on us. Let's see how she reacts to that one. That'd be interesting.
If that's all they got. And I actually got somebody that commented in our video about it that's saying, I was worried that would happen to you. And I'm like, bring it. If Greta Thunberg can stand there and go through what she's going through, I can deal with the plantation police knocking on my door wanting to talk with me about my posts.
Piano Man, thank you as always for the $10 super sticker. Always appreciate you being here. Teresa, always a pleasure. Thank you for the $5 super sticker. Donald James, 22 months. Thank you very much. L, laugh my ass off. This is why I'm a paid member. I think I know what you're referring to.
Some people like it, some people don't. That's just the way it is.
Chip, thank you for the $2. Great to see you. Greta is wise beyond her years. Yes, she certainly is. And again, Chip with the $2. Israel violate the first rule of holes. Stop digging. No, I don't think
they're digging all the way through to the other side of the globe. But for people who have mentioned before about this dog behind me, this was actually Chip's dog who crossed the Rainbow Bridge a couple of years back. And as you can see, those are his current pups. So it's good to see you.
And last but not least, Patman 67, and I believe this is your first time chipping in. Thank you for the £6. In the future, Greta will be honored. I'm honored just knowing her. Free Palestine.
Yeah.
Appreciate you being here, sir.
For sure.
Yep. No, we've got a great crowd. And even though we have our spats, we are extremely appreciative of everyone that is here. Having this type of commentary, I think, is essential. It looks like we got 2 more super chats that I didn't even see come in. And we do have to acknowledge them before 3 more super chats.
At some point, we're cutting it off, and we'll cut through the rest at the end because we're not going to have our gentlemen.
All right, so let's not keep our audience waiting. Let's definitely introduce our esteemed guest for the evening. You know, I would say that considering everything that's going on in the world right now, we kind of want to make this more of a, I guess what you would say, a common practice, because we learn so much from them when they are here. And, it's one thing to talk about military matters, things that are essential to all of us, because, again, foreign and domestic policy is being driven in a very dangerous way right now. And it is imperative that we hear from people who actually know a thing or two about the direction this country is heading in legitimately. And so, first and foremost, we would like to introduce, for the 3rd time, I believe, 3rd or 4th time.
I don't know.
He is a retired U.S. Army colonel and former chief of staff to the U.S. Secretary of State, Colin Powell. He is a friend as much as he is a mentor. Colonel Larry Wilkerson, welcome back to Revolutionary Change.
Good to be with you.
Hi, it's so good to see you. I wasn't here the last time that you and Dennis were on, and I was kind of annoyed about that. And I was even annoyed that Peter set that up while I was out of town. So I'm glad you guys are back. I don't like to miss this.
Well, I'm glad to see that you're prospering. I just heard what you said about your subscribers.
Yeah, we've taken off. We've really been doing well, which is amazing. I think people are realizing more and more that they're not getting accurate information on mainstream media.
Yeah. And would be outdone to have your friend and colleague join us as well. He is a retired Command Chief Master Sergeant in the U.S. Air Force. He served in the office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Policy as a contracted staff member. And he is the author of Deadly Betrayal, The Truth About Why the U.S. Invaded Iraq. Welcome back, as always, Dennis Fritz to Revolutionary Change. You're on mute.
You're on mute. Don't start bad.
Yeah, exactly. Well, listen, it's great seeing you all again, Jen and Peter, and it's always an honor to be with my great friend and colleague, Larry Wilkerson, better known as LW in my network.
LW, that sounds really good. I don't know. When I see, Larry, when I see you on with people, I'm so sweet on you, man. It's like the way that I think it's a combination of the sense of humor and the accent and just the fact that you really know your shit. It's just a really glorious combination of stuff. So I really appreciate it. I want to start because I know that this happened a while ago, and I know that you guys have probably talked about it, but we haven't had you on since Pete Hegseth had his general admiral meeting. And I, as somebody who's never served, I found it offensive. I found it ridiculous. I'm like, this piece of shit, this little whatever, is sitting here and talking to a room full of people that are so beyond his understanding and his league. Like, he is so out of his element. And I can't imagine that the majority of the men that were sitting in that room left there thinking anything other than I should call my lawyer, because I mean, they're basically being asked to follow illegal orders. And so I'm wondering, let's start with you, Larry, like from your perspective, what do you think was going through the minds of those people that were summoned there in a very unprecedented way, which is also unsafe, and what that must be like for those people to be sitting there and being told that they can't be fatties by a man who can't do a pull-up?
I think it was much more serious than that in terms of what they were being told, whether it was verbalized or not. It was certainly there. And I parsed this with a number of people as you might imagine, over the last few days, general officers, admirals, others, retired, active. And I think one of the most dangerous things that we all boiled it down to that we saw was the president and his sycophant, the sycophant giving the details of how it was going to be done in terms of violence. And that's really what he was doing. And the president giving it in terms of why he was doing it. And this message was delivered to this audience. You are going to help me suppress my political opponents in all the blue states and blue cities that are of consequence in this country. And if you don't like that, if you don't like using the military to do this kind of purely political task and illegal task, unconstitutional task, then you can leave. And oh, by the way, we've got your data and we know where you stand and where you are, at least partially. We will soon know completely, because we're going to implement polygraphs and we're going to do all kinds of things in your process of being a general or an admiral. And we will ferret you out if you are not in agreement with us, because that's what we're going to do. Oh, yeah, we might fight a few Islamo terrorists who might be in there, or little Trinidad people who might be in those cities. But basically, I want you to help me defeat my political enemies completely and utterly. That's the most dangerous message that came across, I think.
What do you think they do with that, though?
Good question. I would have thought, and the three generals they suggested, and one admiral, Schwarzkopf, Patton, and Admiral Stockdale, particularly the latter, who I won't say my colleagues, but my contacts in Hanoi essentially told me that they had never met a man like Jim Stockdale. He was pure stoic. He taught Epictetus at my college, the Naval War College. I took his seminar. Extraordinary man. He's the man who is vice presidential candidate for Ross Perot, stood at the podium during a Q&A, and he looked at the person asking the question and said something to the effect of, "What am I doing here?" and walked off the stage.
I remember that. Remember that.
These three, Patton, Schwarzkopf, and Stockdale, would have been out of that before it even got started. I mean, they were on their feet and then be out of there. Patton probably hurling through epithets back over his shoulder. No one did.
I know.
And that's very disquieting. That's very disquieting. You even had someone in that audience, the Southern Command commander, who now has authorized, executed 4 extrajudicial killings on the high seas, 4 boats. I don't know how many killings. So that person is obviously sort of in the boat, as it were, with Trump and Hegseth. That's very disturbing, very disquieting. The female, who was the Southern Command commander before the present one, I understand, went along with it too. So you've got 2 4-stars who went along with this kind of extrajudicial killing, clearly against international law, against domestic law, unconstitutional. Congress didn't approve it. Very disquieting that those people didn't make a move. They look grizzled and grumpy, but they didn't make a move.
Dennis, what did you I mean, I can imagine you have a lot to say about this meeting.
Well, I tell you the reason why I do is because for the last 10 years of my military career, the positions that I held, I would have been in that room.
Yeah.
You see, I was a senior enlisted advisor to general officers on up to 4-star generals. And I would have been in that room because the senior enlisted were invited to that meeting as well. And I got to tell you, timing is everything, because I would have been one to have retired and resigned, because I threatened to do that to less things, if you will. Now, the two most dangerous things that was said by Hegseth and the president of the United States was telling those general officers and those admirals and those senior enlisted to break international law, to break the Geneva Conventions and go in and kill people. And no matter what you do, we got your back. The second thing in that meeting was that he gave them permission to go ahead. We may call you in to kill American citizens, make them the enemy that we will practice on, to do that killing and destruction of infrastructure. Those were the two major damaging and most probably illegal things that were said in that room. I can care less about fat generals, but he's talking about killing American citizens, and he's telling the American generals now, mind you, the most senior officers in our military and our most senior enlisted, to go out there and break international law. Now, that is a disgrace, and we should have had half of those generals speaking, at least if they can't come forward, to at least to speak out, to the media and to keep their names withheld to show how bad that was. That is very dangerous. And I'm just so disappointed that none of them have come out anonymously or whatever the case may be to share with the American people how dangerous that is.
If you think that was bad, and I think we can all agree that it was really bad, this is even worse. And this is the reason why we asked you two gentlemen to join us this evening.
20 years of service in the military. Yesterday, I got pulled into an officer's office and counseled for posts that I have on my social media. During the counseling, they told me I'm under investigation as a threat to national security. When I asked for proof, like what the posts were yesterday, they refused to give it to me. They made me come back today to further go over stuff. They gave me the proof, and the proof they gave me are anti-Israel posts. Now, when I joined the military, I took an allegiance to support the United States of America. I did not ever take an allegiance to support Israel. But yet, I am deemed a threat to national security because I do not support Israel and their genocide against the Palestinian people. Yes, you heard that right. I am deemed a threat to national security because I don't support Israel's genocide against the Palestinian people. Since when does not supporting a foreign nation get a U.S. soldier investigated for being a threat to national security?
Can I comment on that?
Please,
yeah.
please.
I saw that. That's been out about a month. I saw that and I commented on that. And I am so proud of that enlisted man. I am so proud of him. Now, let me share something with you. Something else I was going to add earlier, and this lines up with that. He was called then because of the fact he refused to support what Israel is doing. Also, as part of what Hegseth preached, was that he gave the military men and women, those senior officers and senior enlisted, the green light to mimic what Israel is doing right now. Think about what I just said. In that telling them to violate the Geneva Conventions and break international law, all he was doing was giving our military men and women the green light to do exactly what the Israeli IDF is doing in Gaza right now.
Yep.
I just so Larry, did these officers must know that they're now going to be, I guess, obeying illegal orders. So how does that, then aren't they then criminally liable?
Yes, and they'll take that on a case-by-case basis, I'm sure. And I'd like to think if it gets really grievous in their minds, they will walk. Let me back up and add a little to that video. I learned that what they went through at Fort Bragg, and remember Fort Bragg, where the troops were out there kind of rah-rahing with the president, what they went through there was a complete vetting of the audience before the audience was composed and put in front of the president.
Okay.
And they vetted with everything from AI, in other words, reading people's actual body language with AI so they could get an idea of whether or not they were lying, to making sure that there was going to be no one in the first 12 or 13 rows in particular, but in the entire audience, that would be in any way, gestures, eye rolls, or anything else antagonistic to the president's remarks. And then they went looking for people to put in the first few rows that would be rah-rah to those remarks. And they found them. Now, that's the first disquieting thing, is that at Fort Bragg, they found these people and they put them in preacher-packed the audience so that it would look like the president had real rah-rah appreciation for his remarks in the military audience. That's unconscionable, but that's what they did. And the only thing that encourages me from that is I'm told they had to look long and hard to find sufficient people to put in that audience.
Good. Good. Those
Yes.
people should be ashamed of themselves. They should be ashamed of themselves. And quite honestly, and I agree, that those people should have, in that meeting, should have stood up and walked out.
Well, that was a violation of DOD regulations too, DOW, I guess now,
Oh.
because they're very specific about how if you're in uniform, even if you're in front of the president and the president's giving remarks, that's a political speech. If you're in uniform, you have certain rules about the decorum you exercise, and it doesn't include jumping up and rah-rahing.
You can't go to a political gathering in uniform.
Yeah.
Huh. But
you
yet
know-
they all did that.
Well,
Well,
there
I
are
don't know if you guys
exceptions
know
for the
too.
president at places like the academy and such, but still you must comport yourself with decorum. You can't be out there cheering when he talks about things that you shouldn't be cheering.
Hey, Larry, and I think, to be honest with you, I think they did a pretty good job at that. You know, they stayed very stoic and so forth as
Yeah.
well as they
Oh,
could.
at Quantico. Yeah, they did
Yeah.
at Quantico. Yeah.
Yeah.
But not at Bragg.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Not at Bragg. Like I said, that goes back to whether you like it or not. That was a political gathering because
Yeah.
everybody, was, checked out and vetted, if you will, as Larry alluded to.
Did you
And
see how
that's-
disappointed Pete was when nobody clapped for his speech?
Oh, yeah. Well,
I
the
would
the
watch
president
that
too.
on repeat over and over and over. He's like, nobody clapped for me. No one's clapping for you, Petey.
Yeah, and that's definitely. I mean, again, the whole concept of what we saw was so disturbing in so many ways. It was so un-American. It just felt it almost, like, honestly, it almost felt like a communist rally. That's kind of what it felt like to me. That's what I saw. I know you saw that, Larry. I mean, it's just obvious.
A gentleman sent me a tape today that I hadn't seen. I thought I'd seen most of the tapes of Saddam Hussein, but this was a tape of him, a videotape, quite a lengthy one, of him when he first performed his coup and decided he was going to make sure that everybody knew who was the ruler. And he got up and gave some remarks. But before he gave the remarks, he called a man to the stage who had been his major opponent. And while he was sitting there smoking a big stogie and sitting over by the side, and this guy was at the mic, apologizing abjectly for having been the man who was trying to counter coup on Saddam Hussein. And then they reported what happened to that gentleman after the talk and after the gathering. And I couldn't help but think that I remembered reading the CIA report, and I remembered one line in that report. It said, and this is almost a direct quote, "This is a man with whom we can work." And it was describing Saddam Hussein and his takeover in Iraq.
Right.
I mean, what a disaster that was. It was like watching a reincarnation of Hitler on the stage, of course. Only I think Saddam was worse than Hitler at that particular moment. Hitler at least had the guile to speak somewhat persuasively to his generals and his troops in front of him, but not Saddam. Saddam was essentially saying, you'll wind up the same place he's going to wind up if you have any idea of challenging me. And of course, he wound up deader than a doornail.
I mean, look, I'm pretty sure I was losing my mind when I saw General Petraeus sitting there and talking with Al-Qaeda Yahoo or whoever that is that I can never remember that guy's. I don't want to know his name. But
your mind went the same place mine did.
What in that, it was some sort of dystopian hellscape. I'm like, what the hell?
I think it is imperative that people realize how bad this is getting. And we have seen, as I'm sure you guys have, revisionist history is very hard in these moments because people have this knee-jerk reaction to how bad things are right now. And then they forget about how bad things were just a year and a half ago when all of this, 2 years ago. The night's going to conclude specifically on what happened 2 years ago and how we've ended up where we are. But when people are asking, how did we end up with Trump? How did you allow this to happen? Well, you guys may remember Stacey Gilbert, who worked in the State Department. Well, she was interviewed just the other day regarding what she released back in February of 2024. Here's what she had to say.
You write in your resignation email,
I said that report will haunt us. And it does. And it haunts me.
Colonel, Sergeant, who authorizes this type of lying, I guess you would say?
Anthony Blinken, Jake Sullivan, Joe Biden, Donald Trump, Marco Rubio, and Pete Hegseth, and a host of people behind them that don't want you to mention their names too often, like Steve Miller.
The Nazi.
That man is like
Steve Miller and Smotrich or Ben Gavir could in the same room and have a joyous time together.
Those the peas in a pod. Those three, I could see for sure.
Yeah, you could throw Jonathan Greenblatt in there too while you're at it.
Yeah. Josh Paul was the same way. He wasn't quite as tearful about it, but Josh Paul couldn't believe what was happening in his post in political military affairs at State. And I was there when Link Bloomfield was assistant secretary, and I remember vividly Richard Haas, who was then director of policy planning, asking me to go sit in Link's meetings in the morning and then come back and back brief Richard. I'd only been doing it for about 3 weeks, and one morning I was just sitting there taking notes, and all of a sudden someone brought a message in. The Israelis had just, with an Apache helicopter, U.S. equipment provided by the United States under the rules we have for providing equipment, one of which says, as Josh reiterated several times, that they can't use them to kill civilians and to do other things that are war crimes. And Apache had just fired into the 4th or 5th floor of a hotel building and killed a Hamas operative, but it also killed children and women, his family and others in that building. And I'm sitting there waiting to hear what Link is going to say is going to be done about it. And of course, we have a discussion, and essentially a demarche to their embassy was about all we could conjure up as a recommendation. I don't even think that went out. They were supposed to be severely rebuked. The contracts shut down. The equipment shut down. The support for the equipment shut down. That's what our law says, but it didn't happen.
Yep.
The determination that Israel is not blocking humanitarian assistance is patently, demonstrably false.
In April, Stacey Gilbert was asked for her input on a Biden administration report on whether Israel was committing war crimes in Gaza.
I was shocked to see that it said in very clear terms, it is our determination that Israel is not blocking humanitarian assistance.
You had advised that that wasn't the case. Is that correct?
Yes. The subject matter experts were removed, and the report was moved up to a higher level. We were told you will see the report when it is released publicly.
And then the report comes out and just doesn't include what you had to say?
I wasn't sure I read that correctly. I read it again, and I sent an email then that I would resign as a result of that.
Good for you.
Yes.
Unbelievable. Like, I mean, I remember it at the time, but now we're here 2 years later. And there are people that are still debating whether or not Ziohel is causing starvation. There's people still debating this. So, and I don't understand how people are still debating this.
They're buried in the propaganda.
The only thing I will say it's not a debate. It's just a lot of lying going on. You know, she had the guts to resign, likewise with Josh Paul. But if you look at going all the way back to the Biden administration, when we had our UN ambassador lying, her deputy lying, the State Department lying, Rubio lying.
Oh.
I mean, it's not debates. They're just people lying.
Well, before you go here, like, how was this? So when you guys were serving, are we to believe that then they were honest? Because I got to tell you, I've been watching my whole life, and I, for the most part, have concluded that if their lips are moving, they're lying.
Who are you referring to?
Anybody. Pick your president. Pick your anybody who's been in any sort of leadership position in this country or in the legislature, right? Like any of these people, all they do is lie.
Well, this old saying, all politicians lie, you know? And so, yeah, so we may be on to that. You know, my biggest, I'm disheartened by the way of, I spent a large majority of my life, military life, in the Pentagon. All the way from 1979, my first assignment to the Pentagon, even as a contract retiree, my last job at the Pentagon, 2022. And I will tell you, starting with the George W. Bush administration in the Pentagon, that was the first time I had ever seen a political operation. Usually the Pentagon was immune from that. You know, there may have been some politics going on, and it's gotten worse, where now you have, you know, people in the Pentagon just lying through their teeth, literally lying. I saw it firsthand. When you mentioned about me being in Secretary of Defense for policy, nothing but lies. And that's what drove me to write my book, Deadly Betrayal, because it was a deadly betrayal to the troops for them to lie and get them killed like that, and over 100,000 wounded for life, and the hundreds of thousands of Iraqis that we killed and destroyed their infrastructure based on a deadly betrayal lie.
And don't forget that who invested that office for almost the entire time the war was going on. Mossad.
Listen, and Larry, you know, I've had this conversation. When I used to go into the front office of OSD policy, you had to sign in. They were in a skiff. Guess who were able to walk in without signing? Almost pushed themselves through the door. The IDF. And I'm understanding this happening right now in the Pentagon just before the big attack that we joined in on in Iran, that they were all over the Pentagon at that time. Now, I don't know. I wasn't there, but that's what I'm being told. But I was there during George W. Bush when I saw it with my own eyes.
Well, we have war criminals coming here to visit. So I don't know. I mean, apparently we don't care if people have arrest warrants out for them by the International Criminal Court. We'll pull out chairs for them here.
Well, wait a minute. Are you suggesting that I didn't really know what was going on when I was president? I was allowed to be president of the United States when the Supreme Court gave it to me? You mean I didn't really know what I was doing? Apparently not.
No one thought that.
I bring this up because right now we are in a government shutdown. A government shutdown that should not be happening, by the way, but it is. And while 750,000 federal employees are not only on unpaid leave, but the longer this goes on, the likelihood that they get furloughed is even higher. Guess what's not happening right now? Funding to Israel won't be impacted by the shutdown. That is continuing in earnest as we go forward. Now, you both have seen a lot in your life. I am getting the feeling that what has happened over the past X amount of years, from the ignoring of what happened or the cover-up of what happened with the attack on the USS Liberty, what has happened up until the point that we are living in today, I would like to get both of your thoughts regarding, are we truly seeing the disintegration of this unholy alliance with the genocidal state of Israel? Will this eventually end, this unholy relationship that has been built on the backs of Palestinian blood for 3 generations. Are we in a position now where there might be enough momentum to finally break this relationship? Do you think it's possible?
Well, let me go first, and then I'll let Larry give the scholarly assessment of what he thinks. I'm just going to give you plain language. You know, I've been saying, you know, often here, and I'm even feeling more optimistic about it now. This is the most optimistic I've ever been. You know, a decade and a half ago, the only person I could talk to about this was Larry Wilkerson. You know, so many people that just didn't know what was going on. Now, with social media, listen, let me just mention something else too, and it's coming to fruition now. I want everybody who's listened to me before, go back and check all the records. I think I've even said it on this show. When our government was trying to get rid of TikTok, I said then it was nothing about China, nothing whatsoever. It was about Israel. I'm on record for saying it over a year. Now, Bibi Netanyahu has told us himself. Okay? He has told us himself. Now, let me get back on track because it just made me think about that. This is the most optimistic I've ever been because of TikTok and social media. More people are finding out about it now. You know, you can't hide it. And I'm so thankful for you all because you all becoming popular now because of the fact the mainstream media has been bought and paid for. And so now Congress, and I'm going to give you the biggest example. And Larry and I were in New York. I guess it's been about 3 weeks now. Let me tell you something. The potential mayor of New York is going to be the big icebreaker right there. When he had the guts to say, huh? I'm not going to Israel. Here you talk about a mayor. What's going to be your first foreign policy trip? I'm not going to Israel. I'm going to stay here and take care of people. Just think about this. I don't even think he was polling at the time. He was way behind. He shot up. Now they're so scared of him, both parties. Now listen, we all, grew up, the two main parties, Republican, a Democrat. Right now, in regards to Israel, I can't stand neither party. I can't stand Akeem Jeffries. I can't stand Cory Booker using black folks and then taking the money from AIPAC. You hear what I just said? Now, let me go back to what you said. This is the most optimistic I've ever been. I'm praying for the mayor of New York to win because they're trying to do everything they can to take him down. And so I think it's going to happen. It may not happen this year, next, but as we see more people running for office who are going to say, I'm not taking no money from AIPAC. I did not support the genocide in Gaza. You're going to see the tides changing here in the next year or two. And that's why they're trying to get Zionists to buy TikTok.
Oh, they did. And by the way, just in case anybody's wondering, and Colonel, I know again, the wheelings and dealings as well that go on within the corridors of the Pentagon. The value of TikTok is listed at $40 billion, but the second richest man in the world who definitely needed a discount was able to secure the rights to TikTok for $14 billion. Hey, the rich get richer, but when you control everything, it's just numbers on a spreadsheet, as Bernanke once said. So does it really matter? But I do think that there is cause for optimism because it does seem that the consensus now is that Israel has a lot to do with why this country is sinking so deep and so fast.
Hey, Peter, maybe one more comment before Larry jump in. And also, the reason I see the tide changing now, I never thought I would be in the same car with Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and Marjorie Taylor Greene. I never thought I'd be in the same car with them. When it comes to this, I'm on their train. I'm with them on that. And I don't mind because this is a matter of life and death of our country. And so I'm on the train. And so why do I feel so optimistic? Because you got people like them and myself coming together. I'm watching podcasts where they are ending up on what I would call maybe left podcasts, and they're ending up on right podcasts. And so this may be the thing that brings us all together because Congress is designed to keep us apart anyway.
The man who did the most to give Trump the election this second time around built a incredible organization called Talking Points, was recently assassinated and
Turning Point USA.
Yeah, turning points, yeah. And did irreparable damage to Israel's contact and favoritism in America. Irreparable damage to it. And the others who are now more or less talking about that are continuing that damage. Tucker Carlson, Candace Young, and so forth. But I think he was coming around to a belief that was frequently exposed to him in these colossal meetings he would have from people under 40, youngsters under 40. And they were MAGA people. They were devotees of Charlie Kirk. They were MAGA people. And they were asking good questions, as Marjorie Taylor Greene, as Dennis said, is, and others. I think that's fracturing the relationship. And you see the fright on Netanyahu's face now, every now and then, when he realizes what's happening to him. And the money he's spending and the money he's garnering around himself from all of his still allies in order to try and fight this. Larry Ellison's just the latest peak of the iceberg, if you will. But they're scared. And well, they should be, because I think the country's getting ready to shed its predilection for Israel.
I think that just ends them, right? I mean, they cease to exist without us. I mean, they're an appendage of us, right? That's one of our tentacles. And so, yeah, they could be cut off and then they just cease to exist, which is what we want. We need the end of the Zio state. They need to go away. They need to be lanced like a fucking boil off of humanity. I am so like, we're so far beyond decorum at this point with these people. They cannot coexist on this planet with the rest of us. That's what it looks like to me. They're incapable of getting along with the rest of us.
Hey,
well,
Jen, let me just say something.
The real challenge right now is that Netanyahu knows this more and more every day. He knows this. So he's absolutely intent on taking us into war with Iran. Then the question is going to be
Iran.
With Iran.
Yeah.
So I just said Iran.
Yeah. Hey, Jen.
And what's going to happen when that occurs is Trump is going to be faced with having to go in with him, because he's going to get Israel into existential peril really quickly. Iran is going to hand him his ass.
I'm so here for it.
Well,
then
we're going to jump in, and that's going to resurrect Netanyahu and temporarily, at least, Israel. But I think it's going to bring us down completely.
Yeah.
I think we're going to start to unravel, because if you think Iraq and Afghanistan were bad, multiply it times 20 with Iran. And China's there full force now. Russia's there full force now. The very best air defense equipment has been flowing into Iran. The flanker squadrons are up and ready to go. I'm not so sure the Russians won't even be flying some of those planes. So got plenty of support, and probably Iran all by itself could bring Israel down now. And that's going to cause us to have to come in. That's Bibi's resurrection. That's what he thinks anyway.
Hey, I just wanted to comment. Hey, Jen, I just wanted to say I want to give you your flowers and your pat on the back, because you carry a lot of credibility. If you don't mind me, I'm serious, but I'm joking. You, as a recovering Zionist, if you will, I say that jokingly, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You carry a lot of credibility in your stance, and I applaud you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I thought I was going to get arrested the other day for burning the flag, but that didn't happen.
But I will tell you guys, and I know you may not have been aware of this, but we actually stumbled upon a clip inside a synagogue in New York City that was basically in the most neoliberal Zionist of language, the rosary language of, we really don't want to have to send people off to die, but we know it's part of humanity and that's the way this goes. So we basically exposed them, and this ended up going viral. It's been seen several 100,000 times. They ended up calling the cops on both of us. In fact, they sent the cops to my house at 11:30 at night the other night. And I decided to converse with them.
Stupid move. Again. Never speak to the police at your door, people. This is your friendly neighborhood criminal defense attorney telling you, don't speak to them.
However, as a result of me deciding to engage them, they ended up revealing who it was that called the cops on us. And it turns out that it was this synagogue, Central Synagogue in Manhattan, that basically called in a favor to threaten the two of us. And my attitude is, okay, if this is what you're reducing yourself to at this point, you're going to lose. and you're going to lose badly. You are going to basically be cast out like lepers. And I sympathize with people who are Jewish who feel that the heat's coming down on them. But you know what? Everyone has an obligation to speak up about all of that is going on now.
Yeah.
There is no hiding in the shadows. You can't do it. It's too obvious. We have a president that clearly is under some form of blackmail, hence why his entire language about Ukraine has changed, for God's sake, much less about what's going on in Gaza. We are in a situation right now where no one's controlling the wheel of the car or the plane, whatever you want to call it. It's like we're completely in a tizzy and we're looking around wondering who's going to lead. And the fact is, we, the people, are going to have to lead. That's how this is going to go. I don't really see how this ends without a substantial amount of more bloodshed, but this is a very unique moment in history. It is a very unique moment in our nation's history. I don't know if we've ever really confronted something like this before, because we're finding ourselves fighting a war in more ways than one, where we're being ruled not just by an oligarchic billionaire class, but by a Zionist oligarchic billionaire class that does not care whether the disintegration of the United States actually happens in real time. The idea that Larry Ellison has been allowed to purchase all of these major media companies. I mean, CBS is one of the two oldest media companies in our nation's history, along with NBC. And it's now completely been taken over by a Zionist who prefers Israel over us. It's going to get worse before it gets better. But again, I would imagine that you both feel that it's going to create some type of a breaking point here in this country, where the average citizen is now growing completely tired of this, and that they want to see an end to it. And they sure as hell are not going to die in a war against Iran for Israel. That is a line that I don't think is going to be crossed. And I wonder if you both think some type of a mutiny is going to happen with our military if it comes to that.
If they have to go to war with Iran in a serious way, it will require ground forces. That will mean conscription, and 18 to 24-year-olds will go to Canada and Mexico before they will serve. I don't know how they're going to have a draft if there's no one to draft.
And the other question I have that along that is, and this is something that I saw came up, I don't know how long ago, about the new, I guess they took away the shaving waivers from Black service members, and are now, the rule is, okay, well, if they can't get their skin condition under control in a year, then we don't need them here. So to me, I would think that if you're worried about your manpower numbers, that probably unloading a giant amount of your Black service members might not be the way to go.
Well, one of the things they're doing right now is making sure that the people that they do enlist, and enlistments are up slightly for the ground forces, which is remarkable given the way they were headed down. And without women, they'd have been headed down even worse. And they have an antagonism towards women too. But the way they're doing it now is the way they insinuated at Quantico they were going to do it with the generals in the future. They're taking people now who are the kind of people they're taking into ICE. They're taking people who are Christian nationalists, who want to take an oath to Jesus, not to the Constitution. They're taking people who will be compliant with what they want to do, or even eager to do it, as Hegseth sort of suggested from the stage. They will be eager people to go into Chicago and shoot American citizens. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they have that crowd now, right? It's like now now we don't have like respectable people. It's going to turn into like the IOF, where you literally only have the most radicalized people on their own little religious zealot mission. And they're not about what's best for the people. Like they want like this all white Christian nationalist army.
Yes.
Well, you're on to something, Jan. I've been on record for over a year or two now. Well, really for a while now, saying I will not encourage anybody to go into the military. But I had one of my friends to say, hey, think about this for a moment, Fritz. What they're doing right now, if you take a look, they're doing everything they can to push out minorities, being shade wearers, one of the things you mentioned, women, so they can have that all-white Christian force with all the guns. And it made me think, and some of the things Larry had shared, wow, and you got to understand these things. This is long-term thinking. Almost go back to our imperialistic war. It goes back when I was in the Pentagon in 1990 with Paul Wolfowitz. Everything that's happening now, it was being planned then. These are all long-range plans they put together and say, okay, eventually we're going to get there when we get everything in place. And so now you're seeing it take, if you look at Hexel's background and who's sponsored by him, a Zionist, you take a look at, man, how all this is coming into play. And so, and like I said, we need people like yourselves, helping put the word out.
And what you were saying earlier, if you went back and listened to the discussions and the conversation, and these are recorded in a particular book, Our Man from Charleston, was the British consul sending messages back to both the Prime Minister and the Minister for Foreign Affairs in Great Britain at the time. Great Britain trying to make up its mind whether it wanted to support the South in the Civil War. If you go back and you read what he wrote about the conversations he heard amongst the South Carolina leaders right before Fort Sumter, and then after that, and then the Mississippi and Alabama leaders who came in to join them, Jefferson Davis and others, you understand that what you were just talking about as the moment we're at right now, we've been there before. We were there from about 1859 to the beginning of the Civil War. And then in the first year of the war, we were really there because these people wanted to do they didn't want a country like we already had with a constitution and everything. They wanted a tyranny where they were the rulers and the blacks continued to be their slaves. That's what these people wanted. A lot of Americans don't understand how serious the Civil War was in terms of what our original conception was and what they wanted at that time. It was a very, very close run thing for the first year because if England had decided to come in, we probably would have had a different outcome.
I mean, I guess
this guy's messages to the Prime Minister and to the Foreign Minister had a lot to do with persuading them, because if you remember, they were having a problem on the high seas with slavery. They had decided to do away with slavery. They had decided that they were going to do everything they could to stop the slave ships. And most of them were coming where? To us. And so they had a real choice, moral choice to make. And Great Britain doesn't usually make the right moral choice. But in this case, they did. They decided not to back us in the war. And part of the reason was because he was telling them what the South was really like.
I think it's very appropriate that the two of you are with us this evening on what is now officially, at this time, the 2-year anniversary of what I believe was a false flag event, October 7th, 2023. I believe that Milikowski's government knew exactly what was coming. They allowed it to happen. They knew that it would be tremendous political cannon fodder as a result. I didn't know what to make of it at the time, but I knew something didn't feel right. We had already been covering this topic for the better part of 2 years at that time. And so on the very first live that we did, just 2 days later, after this event took place, this is a message that Jen put out. This was aired on October 10th, 2023.
Taught Palestinians that wasn't a thing. We were discouraged from using that term. We were taught that Palestine wasn't a real place. It was never legitimate until it was the state of Israel. All of the people in the area were referred to as Arabs. We were taught that Arabs were less civilized, were filthy, and that they hated Jews and wanted to kill Jews, like indoctrinated from a very young age. This level of Zionism is what is still governing people like my congresswoman. And I see them put out this sort of sentiment that is just so unbelievably ignorant. Anybody in Congress, anybody with a platform, anybody who has access to information at this point and does not acknowledge the Nakba, that Israel is an illegal occupation, that they're in violation of international law, and just keeps waving their Israeli flag, they are one of two things. They're either being willfully ignorant or they're lying. That's it.
I knew this was going to happen this way, like not to the extent that it did, but I saw where this was going.
Well, if you'd watched Operation Cast Lead, you had to. I mean, that was a precursor. That was a precursor for it.
My question is, like, when we're seeing this shift in our military and we're seeing that it's going to be a whole bunch of ICE type commandos that have no honor. These people have no honor. They just want to go out there and shoot shit up. The real revolution to me, it's not electoral. We're not voting our way out of this. This is going to get ugly and it's going to get violent way more so than it already is. And my question is what are the military people that are the people that have honor, that are either veterans or retiring or people that are not going to go along with this? It's like, that's where the revolution comes from. We know that the blue team has been pissed off for years, but the blue team is feckless. They can't do shit. The red team is armed. And the red team is not having it. So now you have a bunch of veterans and people like that gentleman who is now considered a threat to national security that are going to be out there and wanting to do something and defend their country against this domestic enemy. And so what does this turn into? Because that's where I see the real revolution happening, is people are going to start getting in the streets. And now in Florida, we're full on open carry now. So this is the Wild West.
Well, there are more guns in the south side of Chicago than probably in an armory in Illinois.
Right.
I mean, you know, we haven't seen it yet, but we're going to see it. I think you're absolutely right. I think we're going to have blood in the streets.
I do too. And I think it's going to be a lot of those people that were military, are military, or veterans, people like you, people like our friend Anthony Aguilar, who's in the chat, people who have a conscience and who have honor, that are not going to stand and watch their fellow citizens being gunned down in the streets. And I've been saying for a long time, we need to Black Panther this shit. We need to have packs of Black Panthers all the way, everywhere where there's ICE. They want people open carry. Let's show them open carry.
Yeah. You know, I'm hearing, it's funny to say that I became a pen pal for an individual who I never expected and don't want to be a pen pal with because some of the outrageous things he says. But at the same time, he's been telling me now for about a month that, you know, we're going to have a civil war. It's not going to be about the North and the South. It's going to be about a civil war that Israel causes with us. You know, you must also know with the flotilla right now, there's a lot of veterans that was a part of that flotilla as well. And so you're seeing a lot more veterans, you know, like as I tell folks, we've been detox, you know, we look back on it now and say, wow, this was crazy. You know, all the wars that we've had, we've always been chasing some type of ghost. I don't know if, you know, when you talk about, you know, false flags and so forth, October the 7th, well, Bibi Netanyahu said it himself, you know, October the 7th is our 9/11. He's using that as an excuse. 9/11 was used to create the so-called war on terror so that we could go after, you know, Iraq, Syria, and later Iran, which is planned to still carry it out now. You know, I've been, you know, doing a lot of my presentations and interviews. I've, you know, people been trying to force me to say that 9/11 was an inside job. You know, when I talk to, you know, engineers and so forth, I mean, it's almost convincing, but I tell folks, I only give you facts I know, opinions, and assumptions. But I'm beginning to wonder now. And so I started doing a little bit of investigation myself. And I just took a little note I wrote down myself to remind myself, Larry, you may be familiar with this, the historian that you are, Operation Northwoods. It's been declassified. Now, it was a false flag that we were going to be attacked here, you know, in the United States. The Joint Chiefs of Staff of all people recommended this. But thank goodness the president at the time, President Kennedy, said, hell no. But we're going to do a false flag against our people and blame it on the Cubans.
Yeah, they were going to shoot down a plane in Miami.
That sort of was a precursor for 7 Days in May, which was one of Kennedy's favorite movies. If you remember that movie. I mention that all the time, and people look at me like, 7 Days in May? Who was in that movie?
All right, so I have to take you both back to your childhood. So I finally, I had a little downtime over the weekend, and I finally watched The Manchurian Candidate. I mean, you want to talk about a movie that was made over 60 years ago that is still relevant today. I mean, the message of that film is still as relevant. And Angela Lansbury, I mean, my goodness, she played a wicked villain in that movie, but a villain that was probably drawn from life. That's what's amazing about so many of these, Pentagon-approved films, is that they're always giving you little hints about what's really going on out there. They may not use the real names, not the real people, but there's those elements of truth that is kind of hidden in those messages. And it's not scary to me anymore. I just think it's very eye-opening, but also very confirming. We did a clip on Larry Silverstein not too long ago, the Zionist billionaire that owned the World Trade Center and would go to the World Trade Center every day for breakfast at what was it called? Tower of the Worlds, or what was it called, Jen?
The restaurant at the top.
On top of the North Tower. And then for whatever reason, one day he decided not to go. And when Elliot Spitzer got in, he was able to collect on an insurance policy that he only paid a couple of $100 million on, and he collected $4.5 billion as a result. And this was an insurance policy, mind you, that he only signed about a couple of months before this actually happened. So this clip started to take off. And the next thing you know, Google decided to suppress it. They shadow banned it, they grabbed it. And in my opinion, when that happens, that means we've struck a nerve with the truth. That's what it means. Yeah. That's it. And the fact that you gentlemen have served in the highest levels of our government, that you grace us with your presence, and that you encourage us the way that you do. There's a lot of people that have come on our channel that have given us very kind words of encouragement, but you're two of our favorites. You know that. That's why we ask you to come back. And we thank you not just for your service in the uniform, but your service outside the uniform. And it is imperative that we continue to have these conversations, because if we don't, we are in big trouble. But with you guys around, it gives us hope.
Yeah.
And we will continue to fight that fight from now and for many years to come. And we obviously want to thank you, as always, for gracing us with your presence tonight. And final words before you go.
Well, I want to turn those words back on you. Totally back on you. I'm 81 years old. I'm out of here very shortly. So you got the burden. But I think you're right. I think it's going to take people in the streets, and it's probably going to take blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to thank you all. I appreciate the work that you're doing. Thanks for having Larry and I on, and we'll be more than happy to come back when you need us at any time. The other thing I will tell you, though, is thank goodness for social media. Thank goodness for the young people. Larry and I had an opportunity, I alluded to 3 weeks ago, to go to Columbia University, believe it or not. We were invited to Columbia University, and we spent some time with the students there. And I got to tell you, I am so proud of them, And I got to tell you, they're going to make that change. We're just going to give them the guidance, give them the historical perspective. But you see Larry smiling. I mean, that was one of the best times of our lives. I was just thinking about
one of the things I kept hearing, the refrain, they hated the administration. They liked their professors, they liked their classes, they liked what they were learning and stuff, but they hated the administration.
Yeah, for sure. We're coming up on our Thursday. We're going to be doing our 5-year anniversary live stream. So we have now been doing this for 5 years. And it's amazing the amount of people that we've met, especially people like you. And it's very inspiring. It's very inspiring. And I think it's very important for people to know, just like they know that there are anti-Zionist Jews, they need to understand that there are military people with conscience and honor and that know what the right thing is. And those are the people that have the credibility and the authority to speak about the problems in those systems. So it's so important. I appreciate you both very much. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Always, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Two of our very favorites, I would say. And
you had them on without me last time, and then I was sad.
Yes. Well, now
I mean, I was in Ireland, so I wasn't really sad, but I definitely felt like I missed something.
Well, if you guys are as inspired as we are, and we hope that you are, please consider becoming a patron. Go over to patreon.com/revolutionary change. For as little as $5 a month, you can become a supporter of our small but mighty and growing channel. We are now consistently on our live streams hitting over 500 viewers at a time. Again, who could have imagined that? We got giddy when we got to 50 live viewers. So,
I know.
It certainly changed in a substantial way. And of course, we have to give a shout out to our super chatters for the evening. We're now up to 20. Pink Rose with the $5. How do you see Israel in 5 years? Hopefully not here. We agree. Hopefully not here.
No. I see the end of the Zionist state very clearly. I don't know what will replace it, but there will no longer be a Jewish ethno state. They're done. They're a dead nation walking. The whole rest of the world sees it, and they're just in their own little zombie cocoon, and that's fine. That's fine. They want to go down that way. That's on them. I do feel bad about the Palestinians that are in 48, which is inside, the nation of Israel proper. But, quite honestly, there's no other way this can end. This country is incapable of coexisting peacefully on this planet with the rest of us. They're not capable. So, and as somebody who is an abolitionist, I do recognize that there are certain people amongst us that can't live amongst us, people that are in danger. They cannot be amongst us. Israel is a nation that cannot live amongst us any longer. They need to go. And they will. And we just, the best we can do is be as proactive and as loud as we can to make sure that the Palestinians not only get a state and get statehood, but that they get justice for what is happening right now. And that won't fix this. It won't even come close to fixing it. But if we don't get justice for the Palestinians, that's us telling them that they died you're disposable. We don't care about you. And that's not going to happen for me.
Definitely.
I will spend the rest of my life screaming about this until there is justice for the Palestinians, in addition to having self-determination and a free place to live. So this is not going anywhere but down for Zio hell.
Great. Leroy, thank you so much for the $1.99. We really appreciate it. Mark J, thank you for the $2 as always. Thank you, and Free Palestine. We concur. I like tacos. We like tacos too.
I love tacos.
Fish tacos, baby, all the way.
Tacos.
Marvin Vargas. Well, it's Taco Tuesday tomorrow, so he's just letting us know ahead of time, Jen.
It's important.
Marvin Vargas with the $2. Colonel Wilkerson, Dennis Fritz, great guests. Thank you. Thank you for your support. David Todd with the $9.99. I believe this may be your first super chat. Thank you so much. Thank you. Keep it going. I'm on, is that Social Security?
Something like that.
I do what I can.
David Todd, thank you so much. And please know, we do not ever want people to put themselves in a financial bind. That is not what we want. I appreciate the support so much. And for people who are in financial bind, you being here, you subscribing, you sharing, you liking, you commenting, you participating in the chat, that all helps. That's what's building up this channel. And yeah, of course we like super chats, but it is way more important to me that you all are doing what you need to do to take care of yourselves with what's going on, because it's only going to get worse. Prices are going to go up. Gas is going to go up. People are going to notice increasing problems with supply chain issues. In the next 10 years, we're going to see some stuff that we've never seen before in terms of pricing and transportation, logistics. And when that happens, we need to have what we need. We need to have small, sustainable communities. We need to have mutual aid. We need to have people that are taking care of each other and their neighbors. And so that is way more important to us than donating here. But thank you so much for being here.
Brett Boyle, thank you for being an amazing mod, but also for the 5 Canadian A. There are 2 ways to control a population: propaganda or armed force. And the propaganda is no longer working. Very prophetic, brother, even though you're saying it from another country, but I definitely agree. JG 1982 with the $5. Thank you as always. What do you do when President, the Commander-in-Chief, asks you to break your oath? Unprecedented.
You have a revolution. That's where we're at. Because there are way too many people that are in the military that aren't going to stand for it. Now, people might not be public about that yet, people still have their livelihoods to worry about. And I don't ever fault people having to take care of their families. Not everybody is willing to, can walk out on their job and their pension and their benefits. People can't do that. But when the shit hits the fan, they're not going to come down on their own people. They're going to stand with the people.
I agree.
And that is where the revolution is going to come from. When people like Trump, and the thing is, I don't see that he has vast military support. I really don't.
And I do want to piggyback on that for a second. I would say under normal America First circumstances, if things were even not going so well, I would still say that Trump's base would probably still back him. But there is no denying that Trump has fallen on the Israel sword. And that is a bridge, even for the majority of America Firsters, is a bridge too far. They will not go with it. And that's where the revolution happens. It's happening right now. You can see it. And that's the difference between the red team and the true blues. You see, the shit libs, if you will, they're still trying, and they're going to push somebody like a Bill Clinton light. Yeah. Whereas that has a lot to do, as much as anything, with class. And demographically speaking, it has been proven over the last decade plus that there has been a major demographic shift in this country, and that the working class identifies more on the Republican side than they do on the Democratic side. So where the Democrats going to go, they're going to go just to where their demographics are, which is why the more that America Firsters push the Zios out of their party, I hate to say it, guys, but the Democratic establishment is going to embrace them with open arms. That's what's going to happen. This is why party politics doesn't work.
And the Democrats are gone. They're leaving. Again, I've said it a million times. We don't need new Coke. They're going to go just like, they're going to be like new Coke. Nobody needs them. Obviously, the right or the Republican Party has been a lot more receptive to populism in terms of working people, and even at least lying to win over working people, at least putting on a performance of giving a shit about working people. And the only opportunity that the Democrats had to basically prevent this was in 2015. And
that's it.
So now, which was the compromise, right? We've said it many, many times. Bernie Sanders was the compromise. And when they rejected that, I thought immediately, all right, I guess we're going to do this the hard way. And that's where we are. And when people say things like, do I support violence? No, I recognize it as inevitable. I was happy with the Bernie compromise. That's what I wanted. I just want health care and a living wage for people, right? Like, I know that's crazy. But so the powers that be, they're making it violent. Violent, the level of violence in a society is determined by the oppressor. Always. Always. Which is why I don't condemn Hamas, which is why I don't condemn October 7th. You don't want violence? Then get your boot off of people's fucking neck.
Amen.
Just a thought.
JG 1982 again with the contribution, this time $10. Thank you very much. They first really hated TikTok after Osama bin Laden's letter to America was banned on TikTok about 2 years ago, correct? Israel was heavily criticized in that letter. Young people started hating Zionism. It wasn't 2 years ago. It was about a year and a half ago, but it was about 6 months into the genocide that this letter started making the rounds, and they lost their minds because they're seeing all these innocent people getting killed. Why are we going along with it? It's pretty obvious what ended up happening. So more. The 7 sacraments of health. Oh, and thank you again for the friendly banter and the $1.99 super sticker. Always appreciate you being here. And JG again with the $5 in the draft. They put minorities on the front line. Well, you don't have any minorities, so what the hell are you going to do?
Well, this is why I think that they haven't really thought their plan of an all-white man army through.
Yeah, they haven't thought this through very carefully. JG, an amazing supporter, of course. Thank you for gifting the 5 Revolutionary Change memberships. Very much appreciated. Jim Talib, thank you for the $2 super sticker. Appreciate you being here. Miles J with the 35 something that I think is worth at least $5.
Well, he's in South Africa.
Oh,
so whatever the South African currency is what I'm assuming.
I've read Yahya Sinwar's book. It is sold here in South Africa.
Good.
Nothing anti-Semitic in that book.
I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so. And I've said this many times. So I have now had the honor and the privilege of meeting an inordinate amount of Palestinian people. And I have yet to meet a Palestinian person that has animosity towards Jews. I haven't met that person. So I'm not saying they don't exist. I'm sure there could be an anti-Jew hating Palestinian out there somewhere. I mean, I don't know. But by and large, they don't hate Jews. They hate the oppressive state. They hate the colonizer. The colonizer is the one that keeps saying, oh, we're Jews, when they're not actually Jews. They're Zios. And the thing about Palestinians is that people here don't know, because we're propagandized and brainwashed, is they're exceptionally bright.
Yep.
They're exceptionally bright and
they
very
don't get
nuanced.
And keep in mind, they don't have any institutional advantages when it comes to getting acceptance into universities, unlike certain other people who,
Right. I'm just saying Palestinians don't hate Jews. They don't have a problem with Jews. So it does not at all surprise me that in Yahya Sinwar's book, what he wrote about had nothing to do with Jews. They don't have a problem with you. There's Jewish Palestinians. I know people like to forget that. And the Jewish Palestinians were treated horribly, still treated horribly by Zio hell.
Correct. Well, hence the true nature of what it's all about. Sailor Jerry Swallow, thank you for the 2 Canadian $8. Great show again. Hey, thank you. That's why we do it, my friend. Pink Rose again with the $5. Do you think there will be a ceasefire soon? Unfortunately, no. I think the Samson option is going to be the final nail in the coffin for Milikowski before he hopefully is drawn and quartered in a public square, which I think would be a very tasteful ending that he so richly deserves.
Yeah, I mean, oh, they're saying he learned Hebrew in jail. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. But the truth is that Palestinians and other people, especially like very educated people who pride themselves on knowledge and education, and that is something that is very huge in the Palestinian community, they know lots of languages. We're the only morons here that barely learn English.
We get angry at people who speak Spanish, which is probably one of the easiest languages to learn if you really committed yourself to it.
But it isn't even just that. Like, people have no concept of this. When you hear somebody speaking broken sounding English, I could tell you they're probably already smarter than you. I meet somebody who speaks broken English. I know they're smarter than me, because that means that that's not even your first language. And yet I'm still able to have a conversation with you. Meanwhile, I can barely get by in Spanish. I mean, I do okay, but I grew up here and lived here for most of my life. So that's still pretty pathetic. And they speak multiple languages.
Yeah. Well, I'm still working on it. Chip, always a pleasure. Thank you for the $2. The Dems abandoned the working class 40 years ago. That is correct. Well, actually, they've pretty much abandoned them. You know when they really abandoned them? They really started abandoning them under Carter.
That's
where it started.
We covered that. Who was on where we really talked about that when we talked about it was the book. I read the book. I can't remember which author it was, about that. It basically started with the Carter administration.
Yeah. Well, that's how we got. Who was
it?
I don't.
Who was it, Rachel? Who was the person that was that? Was that Professor Gibbs? Who was that? Anyhow, we did talk about this.
You guys are not familiar with the 1980 Democratic primary. Look back on Jimmy Carter versus Ted Kennedy. That was a very interesting time, to say the least.
Gracias, Pink Rose. Te amo mucho.
Muchas gracias, también. Piano Man, thank you for the $10 and the super sticker. And Patman67 again with the £6. Great show. Keep firing us up. Hands across the Atlantic. United, we win.
You know that he's in Scotland.
Scotland?
And I made it very clear. I love your people and I love your water. People, if you want to know where the best drinking tap water is, go to Scotland. I mean, not everybody go there, because then it'll not be good anymore if everybody goes there. But take turns going to Scotland.
Jen, you shouldn't have shared such important information
about their water. It's insane. Water. It's insane. I was never so excited to drink tap water in my whole life. I'm pretty sure that the lady who ran one of the Airbnbs we stayed at thought I was insane, because I was sitting there like filling up water bottles with her sink water.
Okay, I'm taking some of this back with me. It'll probably
Honestly,
handy
if we could travel with water, like liquids, like we used to, I would have absolutely brought back gallons of friggin' Scottish water. I absolutely would.
Yeah, but water's not free anymore. Now you got to pay for it. So
I don't care. I'd pay the Scots. I'm happy to pay the Scots. Their water is friggin' awesome.
I think the best way to conclude what is now the 2-year anniversary of this dismal failure of humanity would be to show the true cracks in the armor that is giving us hope. Now, Jen sent me this clip the other day from another Zio scumbag content creator who did a really bad job in production value of trying to convince us that somehow this was the flotilla that was captured. Well, I don't know the gentleman who put this together, but he's going to fill us in on what really went down on trying to prove that somehow one of the flotillas was a party boat of some kind. Yeah, not so much.
Zionist lady recently tried to expose the Gaza Freedom Flotilla by claiming that the boats didn't actually have any aid on them.
Hi everyone, it is Lizzy Savetsky. I'm reporting to you live from Greta's flotilla where 44 boats were intercepted yesterday, allegedly bringing aid to Gaza.
How many times do you think she filmed herself doing this before they found the one that they thought was appropriate?
I don't know. I can't deal with Zio Barbies. I just can't. I mean, she just looks ridiculous to me. It's like, are you cosplaying a journalist? Are you trying to get some sort of, are you like, go get a job on like, this kind of person would do better like on The Price is Right. Like she's one of the people that should do like car, refrigerator. Like,
yeah, don't talk, but she's not even good to look at. Oh God, she's
well, no, she looks like the rest of the Zio Barbies. They all have that same face, like Laura Loomer.
She might, well, no one's as bad as Loomer, but she may very well be an alien. I could definitely give you that one.
Let's go inside. I'll give you a tour. Margarita machine and some empty bottles.
Yeah, hold on, lady. Let's take a closer look at those empty bottles. The labels on these products are written in Hebrew.
Very interesting, huh?
Yeah, I had no idea that the flotilla members who are trying to save the Palestinians would have Hebrew written bottles from other countries on their boat.
Not in a million years.
Not
in a million. Not only would they not have Israel products on their boat, they probably don't have any products on their boat from places and companies that are Zio supporters. So get the hell out of here with this shit.
Which means they come from Israel. So you're telling me that Greta Thunberg brought Israeli products from Sweden? Or did you just plant them here so you could push your dumbass narrative?
Sure looks like it to me.
Does to me.
Isn't she so excited? Let me tell you, the first people that need to get thrown in the Hague are the people that have the most privileged existence. The people that need to be broken the hardest are people like her. And they know what they're doing, but they're all doing it for a paycheck. There's a meme going around now about how every one of these, again,
Rachel, remember what we talked about? Horseface. Anywho.
Yeah, well, Jay Boggs gets it. $7K for Lizzy. So that's what she's doing this for. She's getting herself a nice fat paycheck.
Use it to help yourself. Use the $7,000 and do something with yourself. You're pathetic.
Go work for the Salvation Army or some shit. Just stop trying to destroy humanity.
$7,000 has been deposited in your account. She also claims that there was paraphernalia and needles on the boat, but I guess they were too lazy to actually plant any because she never shows it. I'm just surprised that this is a real person because she looks like AI. And usually when you see a female Zionist who looks AI, it's just some Indian guy running a fake account. Like this one here, for example.
Yes, Neue Berg, for those of you who are familiar with this other Zion-Nazi scum that has a very large following. And Jen, you've talked about this at length. So much of what we see on social media prior to the Zion-Nazis taking it over was already being infiltrated and funded by these bot farm accounts. We know that the #1 PR firm in the Democratic Party establishment, SKD Knickerbocker, is doing the exact same thing. So how much worse do you think it's going to get now that Larry Ellison, the Zionist king of them all, is now owning these organizations?
Well, this is what I keep saying, and I'll say it over and over and over again. If you are on TikTok for social, recreational purposes, get off that shit. Get off TikTok. Now, I always have I have empathy for people who it involves their livelihood. It is different. And as somebody who has kids, I'm not going to do anything that's going to potentially take food away from my kids. I'm just not going to. That's just a fact. I'm not, it is what it is. And I don't fault people for that. If you are on TikTok for shits and giggles, enough of that shit. Fuck that guy. Let him be standing there just holding his dick in his hand because he's got nothing else. Because what happens if everybody gets off TikTok? He has nothing.
That's true.
That's our power.
Great.
And no hate to Indian guys, unless you do this. Anyone who does this should go straight to Gulag. Do not pass go. Do not collect $7,000 in your account.
7,000 a post. Now, granted, I would imagine that each post has to be something similar to what this Zio just did.
They get their talking points. Like an order comes down and they're all given, like, how, and I'm not going to necessarily explain the whole context, but like our friend Jackson will send me something and say, this would be a good thing for you to respond to. Right. And it gives me like a starting point as to what I should make a video clip about. Like that's what we did during campaigning and stuff like that. These people are all given the same prompt.
Now,
that's how it works. They're all given the same prompt. The message came down. All right, we're going to make it look like they weren't bringing aid. They're Hamas terrorists. We already knew that was the talking point. And we're going to do that by showing that they didn't really have aid on the boat. But here's the problem. You stupid bitch. What's her name? Lizzy Savetsky, but whatever her name. Okay. Yeah. You dumb bitch. The flotilla very, very meticulously documented everything that they had on board throughout their journey. All the boats. We have the receipts. Not that we would believe a word coming out of your fucking horse face mouth anyway. But we do know that they had aid. And we also know that the IOF dumped baby formula into the fucking ocean.
Yes. And I also want to point out that, again, this is a tough night because I just remember how angry I was and how angry I've been for a long time. And again, for those of you who are new here, who are becoming more familiar with our channel, there's a lot of older clips. We do Throwback Thursday and Flashback Friday clips now, so more people can see what type of work we did yesteryear. All the way back in early 2022, Jen started a series with Katie Halper called Deconstructing Zionism. And needless to say, by the time October 7th rolled around in 2023, it was like we were already prepared for something like this to come around, that there was going to continue to be this effort to try to unwind all of the things that the Zionist psychopathic state was willing to do. And as we wind down for the evening and conclude, there's one thing that I wish people would continue to harp on with any Zion-Nazi who still wants to sell you on this idea that everything started on October 7th. What most people don't know is that prior to October 7th, 2023, in the year 2023, before October 7th, Israel had mass murdered over 700 Palestinians. Now, of course, it pales in comparison to where we are now, which is closing in on 750,000 people. Again, if you had any doubt that this was a genocide, please stop being so damn ignorant. And this is what it looked like prior to October 7th. Now, keep in mind, these scrawny little bitches were doing this prior to October 7th, 2023. They had to come up with a way to get rid of everybody. But pretty soon, they are going to be a pariah state if they're not already. They're going to try to drag us into World War III. The Samson option might be on the table. But these raving, psychotic lunatics are the people that our bought-off government is defending. There is nothing endearing about any of these sick bastards. Yeah, that's right.
It's also child abuse. That's child abuse.
Yes.
No, they don't. No, they don't. I want to say something to people that they don't understand. Morocco, Tunisia, Iran, and I forget, there's another country. It might be Syria, but there's another country in the vicinity that it also applies to. They have fairly, for the size of the countries, decent sized Jewish populations. And the Jewish people in Morocco and the Jewish people in Tunisia and in Iran are perfectly content with their lives there. They get along just fine with the Muslims and the Christians and the other people, just like they all did in the Levant before the Zios came. So this guy standing here saying Morocco is with us, they're not. Morocco's government is probably on our payroll, so they might be with. I assure you, the Moroccan people, they don't have a problem with Jews. They have a decent Jewish community there, and the Jews there are very respected and have equal rights, unlike in Zio hell, how they treat Palestinians.
Agreed.
Algeria. These disgusting animals. You know, it's fascinating to me that somehow screaming death to Arabs, and again, people know I hate that term, is somehow okay. But death to the IOF is not okay. Yeah. Death to the IOF. Fuck those people.
You're going down. You're going down hard. You're going down fast. The United States of America will be your judge, jury, and executioner. And I couldn't be more happy because that's how it will ultimately end.
I know. I just want to know, is it, hold on, where did she go? Was it Pink Rose? Is that who it was? Pink Rose? Are you in Mexico? I think you're in Mexico. We love your president. We want your president.
May we not have to wait another 2 years for the salvation of the Palestinian people, as well as our nation.
She's in New York. Okay. All right.
That desperately wants out from this hell. So before we go, do have a few more super chats that we have to get to. You guys have been amazing this evening. Connie and Julie?
Anguili.
Anguili?
Is it Anguili? Anguili? No, Anguili.
Well, she'll let us know in the chat.
Okay.
Whatever Italian name, it's a nice name. Thank you for the $2. Bernie delegate in 2020, and he roped us into Biden. Yeah, he roped us into Hillary. That should have been it. That's why I was nowhere near as enthusiastic about Bernie in 20 as I was in 15 and 16.
No.
Completely different campaigns. Everyone knew it. JG again with the $2. Thank you, brother. That's true. 7K, what we do for free. Losers. Yes, they are losers. Libertarian Social Democrat. Thank you for the $4.99. Can Floridians pull a Washington state populism and get around the no income tax by taxing the wealthy? And we can do it to fund single payer in college?
Not in Florida.
Not in Florida, unless it's a ballot initiative. And even then, it makes it more difficult for it to happen. So.
And I love the idea. I love the idea. So for people who don't know, we don't have income tax, state income tax in Florida. And I think that's a brilliant idea. But unfortunately, what we also have is an inordinate amount of oligarchs.
That's true. Big time. And wealth discrepancy like no other state. JG 1982 with the $2. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you as always. Wang Hung Lo from China is smashing Trump. China's really terrible and they're not going to smash anything. So forget China, even though we're totally China's bitch. Get that right, Donnie boy. And Brad League with the $5 super sticker. Thank you so much. Jen, what do we have on Thursday coming up?
So Thursday, guys, we're going to be having our 5-year anniversary. We are planning on doing our regular time. Will be 7 to 9:30. We are going to have 4 different 30-minute panels of people that have helped us along the way. Some people you'll know, some people you won't know. Some people might even be in the chat right now. So, yeah, I mean, I'm excited about it. And we will be making a very special announcement in the last half hour. As of right now, I will say that that I have right now people confirmed in the last half hour is Katie Halper and Jordan Sheraton will both be here in the 9 o'clock half hour for our big announcement. And there might be some potentially other people that are still trying to figure out schedules that will fit in different capacities. But yeah, we have a really great show planned with a lot of amazing people that have been a part of our origin story. People often ask about Peter's and my origin story. So we're going to get into that. And yeah, we're going to have a 5-year anniversary party with a very big announcement. And I think that'll be really fun.
Louise Brooks with the $20 contribution to take us home. I am a furloughed federal employee, but wanted to send this because you keep me sane and I so value your perspective.
We value you, especially given that you're a federal employee having to live like this. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's hard because on the one hand, yeah, we love support, but on the other hand, it's like, it's so hard because I feel like the reason I do this is because people shouldn't be struggling to live. And so it's hard when I know that so many people watching this are, struggling and depressed, because why wouldn't you be? And I do think that the community we've created here is definitely a good source of support for a lot of people. And that's one of the main reasons that we like doing this, is because most people right now don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. They know shit's fucked up. They know that we're being screwed. They know people are getting killed, and they just don't know what to do. And it causes this complete anxiety and loneliness as to like, we're alone in the world. And I think that one of the important things about this community is that we are not alone. There are more of us than there are of them. And I think that we are definitely I would say we're on a good trajectory at this point to get to where the more of us get organized. And that's what we're trying to do, because the more of us have just not been organized. And that's why fighting blue, red, you're wasting our time. You're wasting our time. We do not have time for partisan bullshit. We're in a class war, and that is what we need to focus on.
Smash that like button, share, subscribe, do all those things that we ask you to do. Luis, hang in there. I'm being dealt a pretty hard blow in my personal life financially as a result of this shutdown as well. So thank you all. Love you all. We'll see you Thursday. And
Free Palestine.
Good night, guys.